Today's episode is inspired by a quote from Jim Rohn. If you really want to do something, you'll find a way. And if you don't, you'll find an excuse. Don't you just love that quote? And today's guest is finding a way, and I can't wait to introduce you to her. Let's jump in.
Welcome to the Course Creators HQ podcast, helping you navigate the latest techniques for creating and marketing online courses. And now, here is your host, Julie Hood.
So before we start, I want to first tell you about the 24-hour Course Creator Daily program that I'm hosting starting in a couple weeks, and we were actually going to start this week, and I moved the date. So in a future episode, I will talk about that a little bit more with you, but we're starting on January the 25th of 2021 for the daily program where you can work together with a group and work together with me with coaching, and I'd love to have you join us. Go to 24hourcoursecreator.com/daily and you can get more information. We're starting on January the 25th and we're going to have a blast. So I'm hoping you can also join me. Now, on to today's guest. This is actually a new type of episode. My guest today agreed to a live coaching session. So she let me ask her all kinds of questions and find out what's going on with her business and her courses and sort of talk to her about where she should go next and get some clarity around her best next steps. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoyed talking to her. And we chatted so long that I turned this episode into 2 episodes for you. So the next one will come out tomorrow. We had such a good time talking. So I hope you enjoy this as much as I did. And let me introduce you to Sarah Jane. I am so thrilled today to introduce you all to Sarah Jane West Watson, and she has very generously agreed to do a live coaching session with me, and let me share it with you all. So thank you so much for being here, Sarah Jane. This is fantastic. I'm so glad you could join us.
For having me.
Yeah, and so before we get started, I want to give everybody at the beginning, in case they want to go back, tell us where you're at, your websites and your social media and stuff, so that if somebody wants to come back and find you, I'll put it in the notes too, but I like to have that at the beginning.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So my business is fitfannyadams.com. So I've got presence online at fitfannyadams.com, and then also Instagram and Facebook are the only channels that I really use, which is just at fitfannyadams.
Perfect. Okay. So, and let's start by telling everyone where you're at right now, because you've got a lot of stuff already started. So I'm excited to work. It's always really fun to work with folks who have jumped into the pool already. So tell us where you're at.
So I have a bricks and mortar premises. And so, but I am very much in that space of trading time for dollars. So I'm a hands-on therapist, and I'm an instructor, and I specialize in women's health and core restoration. So I have always been reliant on me being physically present to actually kind of fix people, if you like. And so now I really want to step away from that. And it's always been a goal, but to step away from that in order to be able to generate something that I can communicate to a larger number of people, but generate more of an income that doesn't require me to be present. Because one of the biggest frustrations I have is I love learning, I love growing, but when with childcare and everything else that comes into play, if we're trading dollars for time, I actually have no time to work on growing the business or expanding my knowledge, and that I find really grates me and gets to me over time.
Yeah. So how old are your children?
So I've got an 18-month-old and a 7-year-old.
Ooh, okay. Wow. Congratulations. And I hope you're getting a little sleep now and then.
So really happy children, but not good sleepers.
Well, and everyone who's listening should also know we are in the middle still of the pandemic. And so tell folks how that's affecting you because you're in the UK right now.
Yeah, so we're in the UK right now, and so we, ironically, I was just about to go back to work after maternity leave at the start of the first lockdown. So we then completely shut from March until we were allowed to reopen in July, but I had no childcare until September. So we reopened in September, and I think we were open for about a month and had to shut, and we've just been staggered open, shut, and then this week we've just started again a full lockdown, and we also now have the pleasure of homeschooling as well until at least the end of February.
Uh,
Yay! No challenge there then. So I'm sort of at that point now where I made a decision. Last time I juggled doing online work as well, and I've made the decision I'm going to be present for the homeschooling completely. But my brain is just going, how do I make sure this doesn't happen again? And what can I be doing in this time to kind of move me forward? I have I launched and I developed over the last lockdown one online course,
all
which
right.
I ran live.
Good, good, good.
And
I bet that was a challenge with the kiddos.
Yeah, it was. But I also will not pretend it was not my prettiest bit of work, but I'm one of those people that I got so much that I want to do. Unless I broadcast the fact that I'm going to do it, it doesn't happen. So I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to say it's going to happen. And I was like, God, now I've got to deliver it.
So good. So good. Because for everybody who's listening, I love that. Like that whole trying to make it perfection thing, that trying to make it perfect, that will get in our way so much. Like you got it live, you have something to sell now. So that's fabulous.
100%. And there was something that I listened to. It took me a long time and to get my head around that concept of if you wait until it's perfect, it will just never happen. And I was always waiting until I was, oh, am I in the right space? Have I got the right this? Oh, but it doesn't look like they're all singing or dancing, amazing TV way of doing it. It's like, it just doesn't work like that.
No. And your students, they want your content, the way it's presented, as long as they can listen to it and can hear you and see you. That's really the bar's fairly low on. You don't have to have that TV level, but they just have to be able to hear you and listen to you. So
Absolutely.
Good job. Okay, so now that we kind of have a lay of the land of what you've got, tell us what your first question. Let's start there.
So my first question is around, so I specialise in core health, and that is a broad topic. And the typical clients that I see are people who are either postnatal and they need to understand how to breathe properly, how to engage with their core, and how to fix all sorts of post-birth trauma, be it pelvic floor, C-section, or anything like that. So that's one area that I want to specialise in course delivery. The other area is what I kind of call a 6 weeks to wonderful. So I am not a personal trainer who stands over you and beats you and says it's all about fitness. I'm much more about balance and the fact that we moved so far away from wellness in our fitness. So when I talk about wellness and fitness, we talk about nutrition, we talk about mental health, we talk about physical health, and really getting that whole balance and understanding our purpose. So I have a kind of a 6 weeks to wonderful course because at the heart of it is kind of our core strength as well, as mentally and physically.
I love that.
And then finally, the third piece that again I kind of want to specialize and have an online course on is non-specific core restoration. So it might be post gynae surgery, it might be post abdominal surgery, it might be people who just feel that they've got a lot of chronic low back pain and they know their core's weak and don't know where to start, and having a bit of a catch-all for people who just don't know where to go.
Gotcha.
So
And
go
go
on.
ahead.
So my question really is, having those 3 areas, that's a lot of content to be creating and delivering through what my one kind of brand. And
Yes.
that daft? Should I just start with one, or where do I go with that?
So tell me about the age group targeting for each one of these, because if I'm thinking about it right, they might be different ages. Like
Yeah,
the
typically, the age groups for postnatal tends to be late 20s upwards, with that philosophy that the joys of aging with child tends to go against us. The 6 weeks to wonderful, I typically say, is anywhere from early 30s to 60s. I have. And then that core restoration, again, I'd probably say it was 35 upwards.
Okay. Gotcha. So, and I think there could be some overlap, right? Someone might do the postnatal and then they want to go on to the 6 weeks to wonderful. I could see those working together. So, and the reason I'm asking you about that is I always like to start at the beginning and think about how we're going to reach our audience, because that really is the secret to having successful courses, is getting in front of the right audience. And when you have multiple audiences, which you're pretty focused in, you're focused on your core. So that's very focused. When you have different age groups, some of your content will resonate with one or the other. So I was trying to figure out, how can we work this all together? So I think if it were me, I would definitely start. Oh, and which one do you have done already? You said you did one.
The 6 weeks to wonderful.
Oh, good. That one actually was my favorite of all of them, because I think that has probably the broadest application to the most women.
Yeah.
Is that right? Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people want that whole concept of, oh, I want to feel good after a certain amount of time, and it's like that detox concept. Whereas what we do instead is we just throw them with that self-love and nourishment. So they often come out of it with something slightly different. So you're right, it can be applicable to any one of my clients, really.
Perfect. Okay. And then what are you charging for it?
So I charge £189 for that.
Gotcha. Okay. Great. So here's where I would suggest you go next. And that is to think about 2 things. First, how are we going to build your audience? And I know you already have a freebie that you're giving away. It's gorgeous. I love she's doing a plank, which I personally can't do planks for more than like 10 seconds. So I love that picture that you have on there. So that's a great way. And you're talking about core. So it's a great fit for your audience. And are you doing any online one-on-one coaching? I know you have the business that you have, the live brick and mortar.
So I do offer it, absolutely. So I will offer it for those that can't, so through virtual, absolutely.
Oh, good. Okay. Because I also like that sometimes for folks, you have to be careful because it can kind of take over and you're still doing trading the time for money thing. But what I like about that is it can be a revenue stream to where you can charge a little more potentially, and you can get some capital to work with, and it gives you maybe a regular income if you sign somebody up for 6 months or something.
It said as well, I've got running alongside it, I run classes each week.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
And
I run 3 different types of classes, and they then sit on a membership platform. So you can, they're all done now via Zoom. And even when we were allowed to get back in the studio with our reduced numbers, I filmed it live in the studio. Nothing like learning on the job. So I filmed it live in the studio. So we've actually got then all recorded a whole library of all of our classes that any members can access. So what I was doing for the 6 weeks to wonderful, you get unlimited access to all of our live or recorded classes, as well as the actual content.
And then do you have an ongoing if they want to keep access to
Yeah,
them?
so you can just be a member of like the classes. Absolutely.
Okay, fantastic. See, you've got so many good things. It feels like kind of all we need is to get you in front of more potential students and get you a
It's
bigger audience.
I feel like my BAU takes all takes up all of my time, and I've got a big fear factor of taking the time away from what I'm doing now, and investing it in creating something for tomorrow.
Gotcha. So
Um,
BAU
it's the
is
business as usual. So my one
oh, okay, gotcha,
stuff,
gotcha.
my the classes and all of that shebang. Because I guess my background is a physio, so all of my training is about being hands-on. It's not about commercial. It's not that whole investing the time and understanding what's the outcome of it in the long term.
Well, and I think we need to honor that comment because when you have children, when you have a business you're already running, when you are serving clients already, trying to find the space to do add to that is not a minor thing. It's totally legitimate. And so I'll ask you a couple things. These are just really, really minor things that I did, especially when my children were small, to try to get a few more minutes here and there when I can do things. So one of them is grocery pickup and delivery. And I know you guys are in shutdown now, so it might be a little bit different, but I used to spend a couple hours a week doing grocery shopping, and I stopped doing that. I would either get it delivered or go pick it up. Are you doing that or something like that?
Yeah, that made a big difference.
Yes, yes, especially for all my parents out there trying to figure out how to do that. So that's one thing. Another thing is getting really intentional about your best times of the day to do things. And you'll have to experiment a little bit with this. So I've figured out that if I can get up really early and I can do my best content work at like 5 or 6 a.m. before I start, sometimes even before I've gotten dressed, I can do some stuff. Now, I'm not saying that's what will work for you. It's more figuring out what is your best time to do content. When are you the freshest and the most creative? Do you know? Have you thought about it?
Yeah, no, I do, and I think it's I've tried to that. It sounds so logical. I always find that as soon as I creep past their rooms, they're like, mummy's
Mom's up.
like, no. But you're absolutely right. So I've been trying to do that in the morning. I know I'm not an evening person, but I've tried sort of said, right, Monday at the start, you always do everything at the start of the week that you need to get done. So it's like, right, Monday night, I'll try and just ring fence some time to just catch up or do the admin, do that planning. But it is I started, one thing that actually was really helpful for me when we could have childcare was I would book myself mentally into somewhere nice. So I'd usually go to a hotel that I knew I wouldn't bump into anyone at the local coffee shop, and I would just sit there, have no interruptions. It'd be a nice surrounding, so I'd feel a little bit more inspired and motivated, and just kind of just try and hammer it there rather than going, oh, I'm at home, I'll do the laundry, I'll do this, I'll do that. And that really helped. But I think now, especially, you learn from lockdown, is where can we get that time? And one thing I've been saying with my husband is this time, actually, we're going to give each other half a day off completely.
Oh,
Um,
good.
and and then actually I could, be it exercise or work or content, then that would be quite a helpful thing.
And you get a block rather than 5 minutes here or 10 minutes there.
Exactly.
So, two pieces to that fantastic. And when we get out of coronavirus, I'm sure you're already working on this. Is the whole getting some childcare. And one of the things that I did was there were some local teenagers that lived near me, and rather than they weren't quite old enough to be babysitters all by themselves. What I would do is have them come over and just play with the kids. So I was here, like if anything
That's a good
would
idea,
happen,
actually.
but they would just keep them busy.
Yeah.
and I knew they were, they were okay and they were busy, and I could kind of sneak off to my office and work a little bit. Now I know you can't do that in shutdown, but something for the future to give you some time.
Yeah, and I know that I'm also a very bad person at accepting help.
Oh, let's get rid of that right now before you lose. Yes, let that one go.
Absolutely, and it's terrible. I think it's embracing. I don't know where it's from, but yeah, just take all the help you can get.
Excuse me there for a second. Yes. Okay, so now let's go back to the specifics of your business. So you're going to work in the time when you can, especially right now with homeschooling. Do what you can, give yourself a break on if you don't get a lot done between now and the end of February. That's okay. You got a lot on your plate. We'll do what you can. The second piece would be to start making just a real quick list of things that you could do in 5 minutes. So maybe it's coming up with a headline for an email, or maybe it's working on one specific piece of a lesson. Just having that list. So, I got 5 minutes. What's on my list? So you're not spending the 5 minutes thinking about, well, how should I use that time?
Great idea. Yeah. So actually have a list of all.
So I stopped us right there, right as we were getting into another excellent part of this interview, and that will be in the next episode. But let's recap just a couple of the things that we talked about so that you can also use them if they fit into your business. And the first one was the concept of perfection and how that can just stop you in your tracks. You really just wanted to have that minimum course that people need to get started. The second thing was how a couple of the things that I did with the grocery shopping and the local next door kids to when I had kids and trying to make some more time. The third thing was finding the best time for creativity for you. What time of the day is it? When is it? The fourth thing was embracing the fact that you can get help and it's okay to ask for help and let people help you. I know that's a big one for a lot of us. And then using a 5-minute list. And it's a very specific list where you know it'll only take you about 5 minutes to complete the items on it. So you can use those items to fill those little empty spaces when you don't have a lot of time. So those were some big takeaways from this session of the interview. And then thanks so much for listening. I really hope this inspired you to get going and that you can consider joining us for the 24-hour Course Creator Daily on the 25th. I'd love to have you. And thanks for listening. Thank you for subscribing. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd really, really appreciate a review. Let us know if you like this, because if you do, I will continue to do more of these. So thanks so much. Have a fantastic week, and I will actually catch you tomorrow with part 2 of this episode. So take care.